Yeah, so the big news here is, yeah, the turbo hybrid, T-hybrid GTS model. This is the one that you're going to want to buy if if you want a GTS. Really, you don't get a, hey, you don't get a choice. So now the good news is there are a lot of nice updates here. You know, we'll talk about the powertrain. Yeah, we'll talk about that more in a second here. In fact, that's, most of the video will be about that. Let's kind of talk about the little other changes they've made here on this facelift. This is for all models, all 911s. Yeah, so they kind of updated the headlights here. Actually, this is really cool. They got like these blades in here now. You can see that. There's, you know, again, there's 4 of them. Just like the old model had that, you know, the 4 LED signature light. And in the lower bumper, we get these new active arrow shutters. Yeah, this is actually interesting because, you know, a lot of manufacturers use these. They, you know, you can close them off to reduce the airflow going inside the car, which always helps reduce drag. You always want to have the air, you know, you'd rather have the air go around the car than through the car. So, but this is interesting because, as I said, most companies, they kind of hide these flaps behind the grille, so you don't really see them. So Porsche, they've kind of decided to make this like a design element. So yeah, you can see them here. You know, hey, you know, if it determines it needs the airflow, it's going to open them up. And, you know, if it doesn't, hey, you know, it's going to close them. Now, what's interesting is that these aero flaps are only on the new T-hybrid GTS. So the standard Carrera here, the standard 911, yeah, actually, you can see it right here. The front bumper has been revised. It looks actually a lot like, you know, the current model. And on the back here, there isn't really too much that's changed. Unfortunately, we still get, I just can't believe they haven't done something different with this. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of this. Like, have you warmed up to this design? I don't know. To me, it still looks horrible. I don't know why we can't just get, you know, the third brake light that runs across the top of the window or something. Now, if you're wondering, hey, can I get the new T-hybrid, the turbo hybrid, can I get it in the Cabriolet? Yeah, actually, yeah, you can. And you can get it in the Targa as well. So you got a bunch of different options here. Now, the only thing to note is that for whatever reason, the Targa, it's only all-wheel drive. Now, the other models, yeah, the Cabriolet and, you know, the standard GTS Coupe, yeah, you can get it in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So this is awesome because it's gonna, you know, you can still have that pure rear-wheel drive, that authentic driving experience with this new turbo hybrid. So, you know, talking about the turbo hybrid, yeah, let's talk about what's actually going on here. So there's actually a lot of changes, and it's not just all the hybrid. So they've actually bumped up the displacement to 3.6 liters. Now, it's not an all-new engine. It's actually based on the old 3-liter flat 6. They increased the bore, they increased the stroke. But the total output here is a lot more, 64 more horsepower, in fact. And the torque actually isn't that much more. It's not as much as you would expect. Even though they say that the electric motor alone gives you 110 more pound-feet of torque, it's because the electric motor produces most of its power at a very low RPM. So, you know, the overall rating doesn't reflect it that much. But think about it. In the real world, you know, if you get on throttle, especially if you are at a lower RPM, it's just going to kick in, you know, the power is going to be right there instantaneously. So this is always the nice benefit. You know, the hybrid systems make so much sense, actually. You know, if you're not a fan of hybrids, guess what? If you like combustion engines, you better get used to a hybrid, because this is the only chance. This is what's going to make combustion engines stick around for a lot longer, isn't it? And it makes sense because, yeah, they kind of balance each other out. You know, internal combustion engine, it likes to rev up high, full throttle. You know, that's how you're going to get power. Well, an electric motor is actually the opposite. You know, 0 RPM, maximum torque. So they kind of fill in each other's weak spots. And check this out. I mean, we're talking, look at this thing. This is the battery. This is it. It's less than 2 kilowatt hours. That's it. So, you know, you get all the benefits here of an internal combustion engine, a flat 6 that sounds amazing, right? And it just has the character, you know, everything that an EV doesn't have. This thing has it. And look at that battery. I mean, think about it. Most EVs, this is the battery pack, right? This is the battery pack like this. So yeah, this just makes, you know, going hybrid makes so much sense. Now, the downside with this setup is this thing isn't capable of actually driving in an electric mode, like a lot of hybrids, even Porsche's other hybrids. The reason is, you know, basically the electric motor is somewhere, it's somewhere in here. You can't even see it. It's somewhere sandwiched between the transmission and the engine. And so it's always connected to the engine. So you can't just drive the wheels straight on the motor, the electric motor, because it would have to actually turn the engine, you know, and basically pump the pistons. And you know, you might say, well, maybe there's a way. No, Honda actually tried this with their Insight hybrid, where they use their VTEC technology to actually leave all the valves open, you know, so that they thought, well, okay, if we leave all the valves open, you won't have the pumping losses, and it won't be a big deal to have the electric motor turn turn the engine and turn the pistons over. Guess what? It didn't work too well. It was a waste. It was a waste. I mean, we're talking, like I said, this battery is less than 2 kilowatt hours. That would give you like a couple of minutes. It'd give you like a couple of minutes. It'd be a total waste, and you'd have to charge the battery back up and use a bunch of fuel to do that. So, yeah, you know, basically this is just to get a little bit of, you know, regeneration. The Germans, they like to call it recuperation. So when you're slowing down, you can feed power into the battery pack. And then also, this is interesting, there's actually an electric turbo. Well, it's like, it's a mix here. It's not just electric. It's a real turbocharger. You know, you can see it right here. The exhaust, you know, you can see it. It's like a real turbo, except there is a little electric motor inside, and this is just to spool it up quicker. The other advantage is there's no alternator, you know, there's no drive belt driving, a power steering pump, air conditioner. No, you don't have any of those losses that just a standard ICE car would have. And then one thing to note here, yeah, we do actually get a little bit wider rear tires, 315s instead of 305s, because of the fact that, you know, you got more power kind of on demand. You know, it's going to kick in sooner, right? So because of all this electrification, so yeah, just to make sure the rear end doesn't break loose. Now you're saying to yourself, you know, actually all this hybrid stuff doesn't sound too bad. Actually, it sounds pretty good. What's the downside? Well, the downside is, yeah, if you like if you like this, you can't get that anymore. Not with this hybrid. So yeah, it's only 8-speed. You know, it's the dual clutch. So it's, you know, it's a good setup. It's just you're not gonna be able to shift your own gears. So you can still get the base Carrera, you know, so just not with this new hybrid setup. And then the other kind of thing you might find disappointing is, yeah, they put, you know, this is the digital gauge display that basically all the other models have been getting. Yeah, they put that in this one too. This is for every 911. So yeah, you might you might miss that analog tach. And the last thing you're probably wondering is, you know, how much does this thing weigh now? Well, actually, they did a pretty damn good job here. It's only 100 pounds more than the old GTS model. So think about it. 100 pounds of hybrid tech. It's actually going to make the car drive better. It's going to be more refined. It's going to smooth out that motor, especially on startups. You know, you're not going to go through brake pads as much because you got the regeneration. How about just, you know, the ability to use less gas? Yeah, that's obviously an appeal. It's going to be faster, like I said, especially in the real world. When you just kind of dip into the throttle in a normal driving circumstance, you're going to take off like a rocket, right? So, and then of course, you know, the fact that you can still buy a 911 with a flat 6. You can still enjoy it, you know, top down, full throttle, you can still enjoy it. And the governments, you know, all these governments around the world with these new regulations, emissions requirements, you know, hey, they're satisfied. You get the 100 pounds of hybrid tech in this thing, they're satisfied with that. So yeah, you know, you can keep driving this thing for many years, you can keep enjoying it. So I don't see the problem. The only problem you can really say is, yes, it does cost more. It's like 12 grand more than last year's model. So that I can see that argument, you know, but hey, this is not a cheap car. It's not cheap.